Bonjour, bonjour, and welcome to another episode of Métis Time Capsule. Of course, you're here with Alexandria Anthony, and we have a terrific segment. And all Métis heritage, culture, our languages are very important to preserve for, of course, future generations. And a lot of our languages are on the verge of being endangered. And Métis people, of course, may speak Michif, Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, French Michif, Northern Michif, French, and of course, Bungee Bungay, which is Cree, Scot, Gaelic, Creole. And I'm trying myself to learn a bit about Bungee. I don't want it to go extinct. And this is a special treat. We have the Shtory of Little Red Riding Hood by D.A. Mulligan, of course, in Bungie, and it was featured in The Beaver, December 1951. And here we go. Come here, my pet, and I'll tell you a story of a little girl what was called Little Red Riding Hood. They called her Red Riding Hood 'cause she was a little was warning a red cot like a capote. She lived in the bush with her father and mother. One day, when she and her mother were all alone, her mother says, "Come, my girl, you'll have to take your poor old grandmother some lunch. You know she's been very sick. She's been having rheumatism and just has to stay in bed all the time." So Red Riding Hood's mother has been putting a bannock and two smoked gold eyes in a rogan and says to her, "Off now, my girl, and take this lunch to your grandmother and boil the kettle for the poor old wife while you're there." Now off goes Red Riding Hood, whacking through the bus to her grandmother's, which was a long piece off. She didn't go far when she saw a strange looking thing. She was nervous and dubious, but he says to her, "Hello, my girl, where are you off to now?" At the same time, he's been snuffing of her basket. Little Red Riding Hood told him, "I'm been taking some lunch to my old grandmother who's been sick and can't even boil the kettle for herself. She's got to stay in bed all the time." This strange animal, who was just a wicked dashed wolf, said, "How will your grandmother's let you in if she's got to stay in bed?" Little Red Riding Hood says, when I knock on the door and tell her it's me, she will say, pull the string and it will lift the latch. Then the wicked wolf says, why don't you pick some flowers for the poor old wife and sit down for a spell? There's no hurry, it's such a nice day. Little Red Riding Hood's been thinking it's a good idea and started picking flowers. After she'd picked enough flowers, she sat down for a minute and she's been falling asleep. While she's asleep, that wicked wolf's been shacking off to the old wife's place. He knocked on the door, and the old grandmother say, who's that knocking at the door? And the wicked old wolf says, it's me, Little Red Riding Hood. So the old wife says, pull the string and whack in, pull the string and whack in. The wolf gave the string a hard pull, and the door's been flying open. Before the old lady knows what's been going on, that wicked dashed wolf jumped on the bed and ate her up. Now then, Red Riding Hood been whacking up, picks up her flowers and the lunch and starts off running full race to her old grandmother's. Pretty soon she comes to the house and knocks on the door. The wolf is in bed with the old wife's nightdress on, and he calls out, who is knocking of the door? And Little Red Riding Hood says, it's me, Grandma. So the wicked wolf says, pull the string and it will lift the latch. Little Red Riding Hood pulled the string, opened the door, and whacked over to the bed. She says, oh, Grandma, what big ears you have. And the wolf says, the better to hear you, my pet. Then she says, what big eyes you have, Grandma. And the wolf says, the better to see you, my pet, too. The Red Riding Hood says, ah, what a big mouth you have, Grandma. And the wolf says, the better to eat you with, my dear. And as the wicked wolf says that, he makes a jump at poor little Red Riding Hood. But he's been getting his feet caught in the poor old grandmother's nightdress and couldn't catch Little Red Riding Hood, who was running full race out the door and cawl in hand. Her father, who was coming home from cutting wood, heard her calling and ran over just as the wolf was going to grab poor Little Red Riding Hood. He had a sharp axe and cut the wicked wolf's bells wide open. When the wolf ate the old lady, he's been so greedy he never even chewed her. So the old wife's been dumping out, feeling fine, whatever. Now, my girl, you see, you would never stop when you are going on a message and never talk to strangers in the bus. Wow. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, what an amazing story in Bungee Bungay, the Bungie dialect, also known as the Red River Dialect. And it's a dialect of English with, of course, influence from Scottish English, Acadian dialect of Scots, Scottish Gaelic, French, Cree, Ojibwe, and it was spoken by the Scottish Red River Métis, of course, in present day Manitoba, Canada, and less than 200 speakers in 1993. So, folks, this is leaving it potentially extinct, and that's why we should preserve these stories, preserve our languages for, of course, our future generation, which, of course, is our children.